you're in the back, if you can be seated, please. On behalf of the Colonie Chamber of Commerce, our Board of Directors, and our member businesses, welcome to this evening's candidate forum. My name is Tom Nolte, Chamber President. Celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, the Chamber is proud to sponsor tonight's event along with the Spotlight News and the League of Women Voters. Thank you to our hosts here at Shaker and the North Colonie School District. Thank you to the candidates for being here. And a special thank you for those of you who are in attendance or will be watching this later on YouTube. The goal of tonight's forum is to educate you, the Colonie voter, so that you can make an informed decision on Election Day as to who will serve on our town's board. At this time, let me introduce our forum's moderator from the League of Women Voters, Mary Barrett.
Good evening. I was told this is, can you hear me? That it's sensitive. Well, as Tom said, my name is Mary Berry, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Albany County. I do not live in the town of Colonie. Welcome, as Tom said, to this candidate event for those running to become members of the Colonie Town Board. And as Tom said, I'm echoing him, the event is co-sponsored by Colonie Chamber of Commerce, Spotlight News, and the League of Women Voters of Albany County. And we too wish to give special thanks to the North Colonie School District, and particularly Ashley Miller and Shaker High School for making this space available tonight. And thank you, the audience, for coming out. The League is a nonpartisan volunteer citizen organization that promotes the informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League neither supports nor opposes candidates or political parties. The League has a long tradition of sponsoring candidate events to aid in educating the electorate so that on Election Day, voters will be able to make informed decisions at the polls. This year, the general election will be held on Tuesday, November 4th. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. In addition, early voting starts on October 25th through November 2nd, and mail-in ballots are available if you apply by October 25th. For more information about the voting process and about candidates, go to the League's website, lwbalbany.org, or Albany County or New York State Boards of Elections websites. Just type in your address and information about you will come up. Be sure to read your postcard that you should have gotten from the Albany County Board of Elections. This has everything you'll need to know about the different ways to vote, the different places you can go, and where your polling places are. The following ground rules have been agreed upon by the candidates in advance, and they will govern how we will proceed. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute for answering each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. Each candidate has been given a red card. Can somebody hold up their red card? Ta-da! And what this will do is to give each person, only during the question and answer period, 1 additional minute to add to their response or to respond to something the other candidates have said. They can only use it when everybody has finished answering the question. The community had an opportunity to submit questions to an electronic lockbox. These questions were reviewed. They needed to be addressed to the particular office not to a particular candidate, and be neutral in tone. They were consolidated if similar, and they were eliminated if personal. There's too many to be, all of them to be answered this evening, so we'll see how many we get through. I hope that we get, we'll cover all the different topics that you are interested here. I realize that many of the people in the audience are passionately partisan and heartfelt supporters. However, we will insist that the candidates and the audience treat each other with respect. As I said, the candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer each question. They will rotate who answers first. The candidates have chosen lots to determine order of speaking. Our timer will sit in front and give out warnings as the time runs out. Our timer this evening is Wendy Dury Sampson, who's a League of Women voter member as well. Also, this event is being recorded for later viewing. It's not being live streamed, but it will be on YouTube later. Only authorized media are allowed to record or photograph tonight's events. We ask everyone to respect this. Please take a moment to turn off all electronic devices as a courtesy to all, and this includes the candidates. This is an informational forum, not a political rally. We ask that all campaign literature, signs, t-shirts, buttons be held until the formal part of our program has been completed. There will be time at the end for the candidates to meet and greet the audience and distribute campaign literature if they wish. Also, a plug for the League. I would be remiss if I didn't have put in a little ad for the League. If you like what you see tonight, join the League. Any person who is eligible to vote may become a member of the League. Just go to the lwvalbany.org website and click on Join Us. This year, there are 6 candidates running for 3 seats on the Colonie Town Board. In alphabetical order, they are Alvin Galwell, Ben Gary, Jeff Guzzi, Julian Kovacs, Donna Karat Ryan, and John Weingarten.
Joel.
Oh, I'm right here, it says John. That's it. No. Well, it's on the grid, correct?
Good.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me know. Town board members are elected for 4-year terms, which are staggered, and serve the town at large. They control town finances, legislation, and policy, and the acquisition of real property. They appoint all non-elected officers and employees of the town. Their annual salary is $24,183. The candidates have drawn lots to determine order of speaking. Then the candidates will rotate speaking order at my direction. And they've done that in the room that we were in earlier, and they're sitting in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, remember, this is the time for you to learn about the candidates in order to make informed decisions on November 4th. I ask that you hold your applause until the end of our program, and thank you in advance for demonstrating your civic concern by attending this event. I want to thank the candidates and the audience for the respect I know you will show each other throughout the evening. Now is the time for the opening statements of no more than 2 minutes. First, Joel Weingarten will begin.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of Albany County, Colonie Chamber of Commerce,
Spotlight News, and North Colony School District for hosting this forum. I am Joel Weingart, and my wife and I have proudly called Colonie home for over 28 years. Throughout this time, I've dedicated myself to both my profession and my community, embracing the values of service, responsibility, and thoughtful leadership. As a registered nurse at St. Peter's Health Partners, Trinity Health, with over 25 years of experience, I transitioned to infection preventionist in 2015. In that role, evidence-based decision-making became my cornerstone, shaped by the mantra of "prove your life," which ensured every choice or decision was backed by solid data. This focus on accuracy and accountability had defined my career and personal life. In 2018, I became a value analysis clinician, driving cost savings initiatives and resource efficiency. My work was critical during COVID-19 pandemic, where I sourced essential supplies to ensure that our healthcare workers can provide high-quality care at St. Peter's Health Partners. My passion for service began as an EMT in high school, leading to a career in nursing. I also serve currently as president of the Birchwood Neighborhood Association for over 12+ years, leading efforts to improve our community and advocating for positive change. I'm running for Colonie Town Board to make decisions that have a lasting, positive impact. With my experience in data-driven decision-making, community leadership, I aim to bring transparency, accountability, and thoughtful analysis to the board. Guided by the mantra of "prove your life," I will approach every decision with the highest level of integrity and care to ensure that Colonie remains a place where families can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Donna Karat-Ryan.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Donna Karat-Ryan. Again, I'd also like to start by thanking the Colonie Chamber of Commerce, the League of Women Voters, Spotlight Newspapers, and also our host, Shaker High School, and all the guests here allowing us this opportunity to speak to you all. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Colonie. I attended North Colony schools, from Loudonville Elementary to right here to Shaker High School. I'm a graduate of SUNY, and now my daughter is a student at the middle school here at Shaker. My family owned a company business in Manans for over 50 years, where I first learned about business from my father. As a teenager, I started working for him, learning not only about business management, and efficiency, and productivity and budgets, but I also learned significant people skills, like working as a team and collaborating, and the importance of listening, as well as speaking your point. Both my mother and father still live here in the town of Colonie, and my brother has since taken over our business. For many years, I've supported other candidates and assisted with campaigns, and I was honored this year to be asked to run for the town board. Throughout my adult life, I've been very active in many local and also national charities, including Albany Medical Center Children's Hospital and Center for Disability Services and St. Margaret Center, as well as St. Jude's Research Hospital nationally. As a mom, the health and welfare, not only for my daughter, but all children, is extremely important, as is keeping Colonie a safe and healthy community for families and businesses to thrive and prosper. I've spent over 30 years in the construction industry, working in healthcare, and I now work in senior living. I've supported many startups and mergers, and I'm looking forward to bringing my varied years and business experience to the town board and contributing to the many decisions that the board is responsible for making for all residents in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Jeff Guzzi.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jeff Guzzi, and I did not grow up in Colonie. I grew up in Cohoes. My wife and I, though, decided to move to Colonie first and foremost because I wanted to become a Colonie police officer, which I did. My wife and I have twins, a boy and a girl, who attended North Colonie schools, graduated from Shaker High School. I retired from the Colonie Police Department in 2021 with over 27 years in law enforcement. To this day, I continued my security career as working as a school safety supervisor in a local school district. I currently am sitting on the town board. I got appointed back in February. I look to continue that service to the town of Colonie, where I work hand in hand with the other town board members and Supervisor Peter Crummy in making Colonie a great place for all to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Julian Kovacs.
Good evening. As It's great to see everyone tonight, and I'd like to start by thanking the Colonie Chamber of Commerce, the League of Women Voters, and the Spotlight News for hosting tonight's debate. My name is Julian Kovacs, and I'm running to be your next town board member. I'm a lifelong resident of Colonie, raised here, educated here, and proud to call this town my home. My parents taught me the service to our neighbors and our town matters. From earning the rank of Eagle Scout and working in our community, from projects to rebuilding parks and working with local non-for-profits, to even bagging bags at the Stewart's counters or even frying chicken at Popeyes. I've learned throughout my life that small actions add up, and that when the community works, it's because people show up. At Hartwick College, I studied public health and political science. I led student governments and served on the city of Oneonta's COVID-19 task force, where I worked with local leaders, small businesses, and schools to keep people safe during an unprecedented time. I now serve today as legislative research analyst for the New York State Assembly, where I work on grants and funding for non-for-profits that make a difference right here in our region. I'm running because Colonie deserves a fresh voice, someone who respects our tradition, embraces our future, and works for every resident. I'll bring collaboration, transparency, and accountability to Town Hall. I'm ready to serve, listen, and to earn your trust. Together, let's keep Colonie strong, welcoming, and ready for the future. Thank you. I'm Julian Kovacs, and I look forward to sharing my vision of Colonie tonight.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Ben Gary.
My name is Ben Gary. I want to thank our sponsors for setting this up and giving us this opportunity to speak to the voters. I'm a lifelong resident of South Colonie, actually. I won't tell you how long that life is, but it's been a while. I have worked in this area my entire life, except for the 3 years I went to law school out in Los Angeles. I'm a graduate of Siena College. I have a degree in political science. From there, people said, you need to go to law. I said, okay, so I did that. I have been both a student, a parent, and a school board member in South Colonie. In 1997, I graduated in 1987 from law school, or actually licensed in 1987. Worked in railroad law, litigation, basic general practice, and then I started a family. I started a business and a family. Started a business in 1997, it was a storage business, and in 2000 I started my family. And I had 3 wonderful children who went through the South Colonie School District and did all the things a parent does, soccer and plays and scouting and all of those kind of things. And so I'm very proud to have taken the time to be with my children in the school district. I then went to work. After I left private practice, I found a job with the Workers' Compensation Board, worked for them for 5 years, and then worked for the Department of Labor, doing litigation, getting people their money, their benefits, and that type of thing, and working with employers to make sure they were treated in a fair manner. I'm running because I retired recently, and I am not going to Florida. I'm staying here, and I have a vested interest in what goes on in Colonie. I have the experience from being both a school board member, running a business, and I'm also on a board for the Shriners Hospital in Boston. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from Alvin Gamble.
Thank you. I also would like to thank everyone here. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce. And I'd also would like to thank the Spotlight for hosting this. And I'd also like to thank everyone in the audience for not taking robbery to come here and listen to this debate as we have it. My name is Alvin Gamble. I too have been a lifelong Colonie resident. I am 64 as of last 2 weeks ago, and my parents moved to Colonie when I was 5 years old in a neighborhood called Cook Park. That's where all the baseball and all that takes place. Upon there, I went all the way through all the schools from Forest Park to Colonie Central. I graduated and went right to a state school, Brockport State. Upon my graduation, I did take criminal justice and sociology. My lifelong dream was to be a New York State trooper. Upon my 2 internships, one was with Greece Police, which is right outside of Rochester, and the other one was with a then company called NIMO. You might have heard of it. It's called National Grid now. It's the only job I've ever had. I'm in my 44th year in that job, and it's taught me mostly so much, not only about work and what it means to have a job for that long, but I've been working with people and troubleshooting the whole time. Why is that important? In those 44 years, we've never had a strike. And what does that mean to you, the common people? That means some way or another, we worked out our differences. We worked out our differences between the union and management, and we made it happen. So the customers would always get first crack. And that's what I have learned so far on the board since I've been there. That the heads, the department heads and our supervisor, Mr. Colonie, he said on the very first day that we are going to do one thing and put the people first, and we have done that. So I'm very proud of the work that this board has done this far, and I look forward to my next election, re-election. Thank you.
Thank you. Now is time for questions from that people have sent into our lockbox. I will read the questions, and Donna Karat-Ryan will answer first. And no, please have the opening first. Oh, that's the word. Yeah. Sorry, that's okay. And the question is, what do you consider the most urgent issue facing our town, the town of Colonie?
Gosh, I've spent so much time talking to people while I've been walking through the neighborhoods and meeting and greeting, and I don't know that there's anything urgent. I do hear some concerns about streetlights. I've heard some concerns about traffic. I know these are also issues that are currently being addressed by the board and will continue to be a priority, but I don't know that there's anything so urgent. I've heard concerns about growth and development, overgrowth, and concerns from people about that as buildings and properties are developing near their neighborhoods. That's pretty much the concerns that I've heard in meeting and greeting some of our neighbors.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi,
Can you repeat the question, please?
what do you consider the most urgent issue facing our town?
I believe the most urgent issue is making sure Colonie remains affordable for all of our residents to live in. Working alongside Peter Colonie in his issuance of the new town budget, once again, the tax increase falls well below the New York State tax cap levy, and that's something that the town of Colonie residents should be proud of, and I'm proud to be on the board to be able to pass that budget with Supervisor Colonie.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
Since February, I've seen firsthand walking across the streets and neighborhoods of Colonie, from Maplewood to Menands through Loudonville, it's definitely neighborhood safety. One of the things is that a lot of phones are connecting cars now with Apple Maps and Google Maps, and people are using neighborhoods as shortcuts. And we are seeing that across the town, that speeding is becoming a huge issue. It's just not on main roads or routes anymore. It's in your own neighborhoods, which is a huge safety risk to kids, to people walking their dogs, and that's something that needs to be addressed. When it comes to like trying to curtail cars, there's like speed checkers. That's something that the town's done. The Village of Colonie has signs that they put in their lawn that says, please be careful, there's children here. So we have to address this issue and fix it for the whole town, because everyone deserves a safe life here in Colonie.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
I think the immediate concern in the town of Colonie is staffing. You cannot run a town properly if you don't have the staff to do the work, provide the services. I'm not necessarily talking about adding more staff. I'm talking about making sure that we're competitive with our staff. I'm having the same problem with the Shriners Hospitals, because the cost of nursing and the supply and demand is so tight that you're trying to stay within budget and bring qualified people in at the same time. And that is the same with our staffing in Colonie, having listened to both staff and other board members and such. So we really need to work on that. One area that's acute in that area, or in regard to staffing, is our court. Some of you may not know that we absorbed the Menands Court as of July 1st, and we've we're going to have to bring in staff or fill positions that existed so we can handle that extra workload.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
That is a very good question, and I stand really hard on this question, and that is public safety. I believe that public safety is number one. The other issues, and it's very easy to even say about keeping the costs down, but I always go back to this thing. If you're not safe in your house, it doesn't matter how much money you make, how little you have. If your children, and for me, my wife is not safe, it doesn't matter. Yes, I come from a criminal justice background, but I think that my living in Colonie has helped me to know that we still live in a neighborhood or a town that we still can walk outside of our streets. Yes, we have some problems with some of the cars speeding, but we still have a place that we can walk the streets. We feel safe with just a ringer maybe on our house. Maybe we all have them, or some of us have them. But for me and the people who I talk to, they love Colonie because they feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Weingart.
First, I'll say that public safety is definitely an issue, but I think bigger than that is actually our water source. Right now, we are only one of 2 municipalities that pull our water from the Mohawk River. Everybody else upstream dumps into the Mohawk with regards to industry. And we also have had the city of Amsterdam within the past, I want to say 3 years, maybe it's been 5, they've been cited as actually having their sewer lines dump into the Mohawk. We're downstream from all of that. And aside from that, we also have the runoff that comes off of the dump as well that could very well contaminate. Everybody can really get an idea when we're treating the water, or you say Latham Water District is treating the water when they open their tap and they treat it, all the biologicals with chlorine. You can smell that coming out of the tap. But more importantly, we need to deal with and start looking for a cleaner water source to deal with all the PFOAs that are out there right now. Saratoga Springs was recently in the news this past week as well, looking for a new source. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will be answered by Jeff Guzzi first. And the question is, if elected, will you as a board member use AI in board business or support its use in town government?
Well, I'm not too tech savvy, so I don't use AI now. But if it was brought to our attention, or we could use it to make the town run smoother and help the town board make decisions, then I would appreciate that and I would work with it.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
We're living in an evolving world. I still remember being in 3rd grade and remember the iPad as a revolutionary thing. And this is something we have to talk about as a society. AI is on the forefront of technology right now, and it's something that we have to be aware of, but not scared of. It's supposed to be used like a Google search engine. I know we've all seen on Facebook people use it improperly, but with the right guidance, and especially if we talk to IT techs in the business sector here in Colonie or in our local town municipality, this is something that can be used to help the town and expand our resources. And I think that's something that we should really look into. We should never look at new technology with fear, but with guidance and support.
Excuse me, there's a woman who's taking videos. I said in my opening remarks, no video, no recording. Thank you. Ben Gary, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
AI is a very general term. A lot of things come into that category, and it will no doubt expand. AI provides options. It can't become a crutch, and you can't use it. I came from the Department of Labor, and certain people, elected officials, used technology to reduce the population of our workers. And so I was in a situation where instead of putting time into writing proper law work, I had to cut and paste because now because they had the technology, they wanted me to write letters. That's not what you do. AI isn't there to replace employees. It is a tool. That's all it is. And we can't allow it to get to be more than that, because that takes away from the quality of life, not add to it.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
That's a very good question. We see so much about it, and I think there is just a fear of it, a fear of anything new. But I believe that if used properly, it could be used as a benefit and not a hindrance. I know there's a hard sell when people are thinking that having an AI will eliminate jobs. No, it doesn't do that. If used properly, we can do jobs that help counter things or buildings that people don't want to go so high or heights. Use it to the places where you wouldn't want a person. I've seen it used in security measures where, in far distant places that no one would want to go. So I just want everyone to be open-minded about it and not be afraid of it. And as time goes on, it can be used in certain instances, not all, and not to eliminate, this is the important part, not to eliminate human jobs. It can be used to help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
The use of AI in town government, to be honest, right now, I don't know the real effectiveness for it. We're still trying to deal with AI being incorporated with medical records and so forth, and they're even talking about it, trying to incorporate it into nursing judgment. I don't agree with that quite yet. If anything, AI, for its data processing capabilities, I would use that more effectively to look at and review data on projects, to help streamline that, to help save time for number crunching and so forth, to be able to analyze projects and get better information out of big chunks of data. That's essentially where I would use it within the town government at this time.
Thank you. Donna Karat. Ryan.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. If elected, will you as a board member use AI in board business or support its use in town government?
I would consider it with limited use, making sure that it's used for efficiencies and productivities. Having experience in the construction background, I know there's significant uses where it's purposeful and it makes sense. Also in development, I currently sit on the IDA and the LDC, and we're dealing with development issues all the time. I think it can be a useful resource. So I think if it's used purposefully and smartly, I'm not opposed to it.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Julian Kovacs first. And the question is, the town of Colonie's water source is the Mohawk River. What is your plan to protect our drinking water from pollutants that flow from upstream? Also, address the infrastructure costs that would be incurred by these plans.
Well, water is a necessity when it comes to the town of Colonie. That's one of the few things that's needed for anyone to survive off of. And when it comes to the Mohawk River, we definitely need to have people who have an environmental background look into it. When it comes to water flows, I know the Mohawk River doesn't always have the most accurate flows in some parts of the stream. And like I was said previously, if there is issues with Amsterdam dropping in waste, I'd really want to talk to the water department itself and look at the filtering possibilities and just make sure that we have everything accounted for. And when it comes to the financial cost of this, like I said previously, we need water to survive as a town. I know we have a reservoir, I think up in Clifton Park, that's used for worst case scenarios, and that's something we need to keep too as a retainer for safety. But I think any cost to ensure long-term stability of our water source is good for the town, and it's a beneficial thing, and it will attract more people here because they don't have to worry about water and their drinking capabilities.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
Well, I'm going to answer the same way I did an earlier question, staffing. I was with one of the people from the water department and was talking to him, He's an engineer. He knows what he's doing. I can go in, listen to him, and understand, because I work with old cars and things like that. So mechanically, I understand what they're talking about. But the engineer has the knowledge to make sure that our water stays safe. The second issue is, if there's pollutants coming from someplace else upstream, we need to be proactive with regard to those communities, what's being done, what state agencies like DEC are supposed to be monitoring these things. And to have the knowledge, we have to take time to have the knowledge what is going on in the communities above us if it's going to impact our water. So those are the two approaches: proper staffing and staying awake with regard to what's happening above us.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
Thank you. I have personally been to the water, in the water department, going through the filtration system, and I have to tell you that they're using all the technology that they can, doing all the things that make sure that the checks and balances for our water is safe, is very safe for everyone to drink. Make no doubt about it, it is a priority, and it's a necessity. So yes, we need to take all precautions in making sure about the pollutants that are coming in and making sure that they're going out before we get to drinking it, because we all need water and we need it to sustain life. So there are no shortcuts that are being taken at our water filtration system. We are using all the knowledge and everything that we can possibly can to have the best possible water. Thank you.
Joel Weingarten.
I'm just going to say one quick thing. Now, bring the mic just a little bit closer so that everybody else can hear you. That's it. Sorry. Going back to the concern that I mentioned, the biggest issue for the town of Colonie, which is water, to elaborate off of that, as I said, as everybody can tell, when you go to open the tap, every once in a while you start smelling bleach. That's when Latham Water District is heavily chlorinating for contaminants at that point in time. We're all getting it. Bleach is not something that really should be ingested into the body. We shouldn't be dealing with it a lot on heavy doses. What I will say in regards to our water supply and what we can do about it for infrastructure is we need to start looking at how we can make upgrades, looking for grants and other sources of funding so that the cost of the upgrades does not fall on the taxpayer. And then we also need to start the planning process now because it takes time. We don't want to work on things in a knee-jerk reaction for break fix. We want to be proactive. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Karat Ryan.
Thank you. I'm not a water expert or a pollutant expert, but I do know that our town board and our supervisor Crummy have focused on the safety and reducing pollutants and keeping our water clean. I have a lot of faith in our water district and our pure water department, but I would support any costs that make sense to keep our water clean and any measures to keep pollutants out, whether it's monitoring or working in collaboration with the DEC to keep our water safe.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
So simply put, I think we need trust in our employees, and we need to be able to give them the latest technologies in order to keep our water source safe for all of our residents, whether that be from a labor person all the way up to the engineers who are operating our water filtration plants. If we put our trust in them and back them and make sure that they have the latest technology, I believe our water source is going to be safe. And on top of that, in the town of Colonie, our residents pay only $5 per 1,000 gallons of potable water, which I think is probably one of the lowest in the Capital District. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Ben Gary first. And the question is, the New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Acts directs New York State to achieve a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from 1990 levels by 2030. What steps would you take to ensure that the town of Colonie contributes to meeting this goal?
Well, the first question you have to ask is, where are we now with regard to our emissions? Because you've got to have a point to start. Once you find that point, then you have to look at what areas within the town can you actually do something about the problem. So you'll look at those areas and see what options you have available. Grants was brought up earlier. See if there's grants to improve on things within the town so that we can do things more correctly environmentally. So before you can address what the legislation has asked for, you need to have the knowledge of where you're at, what your resources are, and what your options are to get as close to what the legislature wants us to do with regard to the environmental concern.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
Well, I personally know that we are in the process of taking steps for our mission. We're having things like having electric car stations at various places. We don't realize that these kinds of small, consistent measures will help us out in the long run. We have to. It's not going to be an overnight thing about our ozone layer and different measures that are taking place right now. But I do know that we are taking steps, like I said, having electric cars, doing things with pollutants, doing things with how we pick up garbage and when we do garbage, are all things that will help our environment. Like I said, it's not going to be a knee-jerk kind of thing. It's going to be, we need to be consistent in what we do and do it together as a community, and we will reach our goals.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
I think the town could really try and meet that act, the New York State Climate Act, by looking at the fleet of vehicles that we own and seeing what can be changed over to electric vehicles so that we don't have to worry about relying on fossil fuels. I think we could also try and move municipal buildings to try and get them on passive solar to help offset costs. We can try and create greater access to public transportation so that everybody has the ability to take buses and so forth to get to where they need to go. Create more bike paths to make roads a lot more friendly for bicycle traffic, so those individuals who want to commute by bike can be able to do that. And then also look at trying to expand our recycling programs to be able to bring more in and do more with it as far as composting and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Karat Ryan.
Thank you. Well, I don't know that there's one answer for an overnight solution. I do think there are many, including expanding our EV stations throughout the town as they've been started, looking for grants and funding to provide for more, promotion of electric vehicles throughout the community, and also encouraging green buildings and continuing to preserve our green spaces.
Thank you. Jeff Gussie.
Just to expand on that a little bit, I do know that just in the last year, the town of Colonie has purchased at least 5 new electric vehicles, and that those purchases were made by grants that were awarded to the town of Colonie. So we're on our way to making that 40% reduction, and we can increase our electric vehicle fleet. We can also continue to upgrade our town buildings. A lot of these buildings are fairly old with original windows, doors, and are not energy efficient, so we can keep upgrading those. And I believe we are in the process of at least replacing all the windows at Town Hall, so we are on our way to the 40% reduction.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
I'm glad to see that everyone here is acknowledging the fact that there is a climate change threat that's affecting everywhere, and especially here in Colonie. One of the things that I do like about the town that it is acknowledging is that we are part of a Green Town program where we have the bronze status at the current moment, which is great that the town has achieved. There's multiple levels that you can move up in. And one of the things that the State Department does in these programs is that the further you move up or what category you're in, unlocks grants and certain assets and funds that the town can use to achieve a greener town. And I think this is a good step forward for the town. This is something we need to look into and continue working on. And then from the personal perspective, we got to work with local and small businesses to make sure that they transition with us in a way that doesn't harm them, but invest in them and invest in their future. And also solar panels, I talked to someone who sells solar panels, have gotten cheaper throughout the years and decades, so it is becoming an affordable option and a cost-effective option. I'm looking forward to making sure the town continues on this trend and meets a trajectory.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Alvin Gamble first. And the question is, what strategies would you use to increase the housing stock in the town of Colonie? And what steps would you take to keep rental housing affordable?
Another very good question. Well, one of the first things that we need to do for the housing, can everyone hear me first? One of the first things that we need to do for the housing is making sure that it is affordable for everyone, not only for the young people who are coming in and wanting a new model, but even for our older folks who want to stay in their house and be self-sufficient. I personally have been dealing with that myself, and I got to tell you, we do live in an area that is affordable for our young and for our old. Being on the town board has seen how we have tried to keep the cost and our taxes low so that we can attract young folks and then also keep the more mature folks like myself here also in this town. So there's a lot of different areas, but it all comes down to economics, and we're doing everything we possibly can to keep the economics down and bring in more people. I personally have seen the changes that we're trying to make, and they are working. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
Can you just repeat the beginning part of that question again?
Certainly. What strategies would you use to increase the housing stock in the town of Colonie? And what steps would you take to keep rental housing affordable?
I don't know if there's any strategies that I would be able to implement to increase the housing stock. That's all about whether folks want to move out of the town and what actually becomes available. Aside from maybe helping to provide or helping to move subdivisions forward for lower income, to help that with subsidies to help provide some lower income homes, but also with regards to rentals and making things more affordable, seeing if there's possibility for subsidies for that. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Donna Karat-Ryan.
Thank you. I'd like to see our taxes stay as low as they've been, lower than in most surrounding areas, so we can keep affordability for first-time home buyers and also for seniors to stay in their homes and afford to stay there if they choose. We have a very desirable area. We're very close to several highways, easy access to the airport. We have beautiful parks and green spaces. So I have no doubt people would want to be coming here and continue to stay here. So I just think if we can focus on keeping our taxes low, that would be a huge.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
Like I said in my opening statement, if we make Colonie affordable and keep our taxes low, people are going to want to move here, they're going to want to stay here, and they're going to want to retire here. When you're out on the campaign trail, knocking on doors, talking to the residents, the taxes and the public safety are two of the biggest issues that we need to address. And under the guidance of Supervisor Crummey, with the past budgets that he's proposed and that the town board has passed, we have been one of the lowest tax communities in the area. Thank you.
Julian Kovacs.
Yes, thank you. I think Colonie's a great place to live, and everyone should have the opportunity to live here. And when it comes to especially building more housing, we got to look into some of the vacant lots that developers are still waiting to build on. I know Hoffman's Playland is a desirable plot of land, and there hasn't been action on that in the last couple of years, so that's something we need to have a talk with people to make sure that that gets built and used efficiently. And then personally, from my perspective, I grew up here, I lived here my whole life, and I'm currently renting. I can tell you, for a young person, especially if there is a lack of interest in jobs in the town, it's hard for young people to live in the town, and that's usually a requirement to work in town services. I know firsthand from fellow neighbors that have moved out because rent has increased too much, that where the basic medium income salary isn't enough to afford rent on top of utilities, on top of health insurance and all these other insurances. And we have to look at creative ways of going about it, looking at other towns to ensure we're attracting people here, they want to stay here, age in place, but it's also affordable for people to age in place here, because I don't want to leave, and I want to make sure everyone else my age has a chance to live here as well.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
Anytime you talk about development, you have to talk about, in our town, you have to talk about precision. The development of anything in this town has to be done carefully. Over the last few years, maybe half dozen years, we've had traffic issues, we have different crowding issues that we have to deal with, so any development has to be precise. That being said, keeping taxes low is what keeps people here. That's why people only have to put a for sale by owner on the front of their house and the home disappears. That's why we have bidding wars, because our taxes are low and we're a wonderfully desirable place to live in. We should provide opportunities and options for our seniors when they need options to reduce the costs of their home or move into something else. When we work with developers, can we work with developers to get more affordable housing? Absolutely, but it has to be with precision.
Thank you. The next question will be answered first by Joel Weingarten. The question is, many citizens and businesses in Colonie are being harmed by the high electricity costs that must be paid to National Grid. Would you, as a Colonie Town Board member, support an effort before the New York State Public Service Commission to mandate that National Grid reduce its utility rates?
Yeah, it would be for advocating for National Grid to reduce its utility rates, but I would also try to advocate for other means of trying to, aside from National Grid to reduce their rates, try and find ways of the town to get invested into passive solar or into solar farms. With new development, maybe we can try and see if we can get those companies that are building new buildings to have stronger groups to be able to handle passive solar on the rooftops. That's an easy way to collect and be able to put energy back into the infrastructure. So I try and work towards that and also look for other funding and grants.
Thank you. Donna Karat-Ryan.
I would definitely support any effort to reduce the National Grid rates. Not an easy solution. Would look for funding alternatives and other energy-saving methods, whether it be solar or possibly renewable energy.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
I would also support a mandate for reduced rates with National Grid. However, I think that's a moot point because, as many of you may know, National Grid has already been given the approval to increase our energy rates with increases over the next 3 years. So that being said, we have to go back and make Colonie more energy efficient, whether that be replacing nearly 4,000 streetlights with LED lights, which cut down the use of electricity, and on top of that, upgrading our facilities to make sure they're all more energy efficient.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
The main point of being about a town board member is that you're an advocate for the community that you represent. So if this is an issue that needs to be addressed, then I will address what the citizens have asked me to address. So if National Grid needs to get a mandate from us where we write back to them, please lower the rates, that's something I'm happy to sign on to. But I also agree, I think this goes back into green energy and just building more strong roofing, from better windows. There's ways that we can look about it, because I know myself this was a really hot July and it looks like we're expected to have a really cold winter, and we just got to make sure that we're prepared. And I think all of us can agree we live in a very high cost of living time, and any chance that I can advocate to help lower costs, I will be there on the forefront.
Thank you. Ben Gary,
Can I ask you just to repeat the question again?
certainly.
Thank you.
Many citizens and businesses in Colonie are being harmed by the high electricity costs that must be paid to National Grid. Would you, as a Colonie Town Board member, support an effort before the New York State Public Service Commission to mandate that National Grid reduce its utility rates?
Well, yes, I would agree with that and support it. There are things we can do within the town to try and bring down costs. I'll be frank, over the last year or so, I have been, as a taxpayer, as a consumer, puzzled by the increase that Niagara Mohawk has placed. So, as an attorney, I want to do more than that. I would just as soon look into why are these increases taking place and damaging us the way they are. That's a little beyond a board member, but board members have to protect their citizens, and sometimes they have to go take the extra mile to figure out why a problem exists and address it in a different venue. But the town can look at, as the other question was there, the town has many ways to reduce its energy, and we just have to continue to look at that. Thank you.
Alvin Gamble.
Yes. Being an employee there, that's a very difficult question, but I want to answer it as truthfully as possible. What I would do is, I personally know that there are many avenues that are not being taken by the citizens, and we do, myself personally, have departments that go out and let people know avenues and things that they're not doing that will reduce your heating costs, and they will go out, and some of them are free. There's certain things about storm windows and things that people are not taking advantage of. That's what we need to do. We need to see all the things that can be done and use those things, and the cost will go down. They have programs also that are not being used. So what we need to do is get people who know what can help, get to those people, have it used, and bring it back to the public. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question will be first answered by Donna Carrat-Ryan. The question is, what ideas do you have for the distribution of the approximately $456,000 of aid and incentives for municipalities, also known as AIM funding, from New York State for fiscal year 2026? Sure. What ideas do you have for the distribution of the approximately $456,000 of aid and incentives for municipalities, also known as AIM funding, that come from New York State for fiscal year 2026?
I think one of the things I would like to see is increased salaries for our staff, to increase opportunities for our municipal organizations. I think that's pretty much where I would like to see it go, to support our fire departments and our public safety and our EMS departments that, from what I hear, walking and spending time with people, could use pay increases and increases in staff as well.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
I would personally like to see the money being used to continuously upgrade our parks, our recreation areas, and usable spaces that our families can all use. I think it's vital that we have these upgraded parks and make them safer for our young children. Also, to continue to upgrade our infrastructure and our roadways throughout the town.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
When it comes to AIM, I have to look into more of the details of whether there's like certain specifications of where the funding is going to, but if there are options, like I believe last week I got a phone call from an EMS worker who was talking to me about the need for a salary increase and how he's worried about people with families working in our local departments and services, because he had mentioned to me that being an Amazon truck driver is you get more money than being an EMS worker in some situations, and that's something that needs to be addressed and be fixed. So if this money can go to the departments and make sure that we respect and show that respect by giving a financial advantage to the people who work in our departments, I'd love to give it to our public service, and that would be my priority.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
Well, like any money you get from another government source, the first thing you have to do is ask, what strings are attached? How can we use this? How can we not use this? The first group I would go to is our first responders, our police. What is it you folks need that's going to help make you safer as the people on the front line for the safety of our citizens? So I would go there first. And I'm sure our officials are responsible and don't look at this money as, oh gee, we won the lottery. But if you want to use this money in a prudent manner, take a look at where else you can use this money to save other money. We've had discussions here on energy savings and the environment. How can we use this money to pinpoint some of those areas so we don't have to raise our taxes? We can use this money to make those improvements. So let's use money to save money.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
If I was in control of this, the money that we're talking about, there's two agencies or two departments that I would use it for. That would be one for public safety, which is so high on my list, on different things and different mechanisms to keep the crime down. And then I also would also look at, right now, we're having a problem with our department heads. I believe that, they're making a choice of staying with the job that they really love or going to the private sector and getting more money. Over the last few years, they have been staying. They've been staying, one for loyalty, one for what we have at Colonie, but sometimes even some of them have gone because of the money and because of the money decrease or what they can get in the public sector. So I would look at those two groups to keep our most qualified people here in Colonie so we can keep on growing and making better decisions, and that's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
Well, first, $456,000 is not a lot of money these days. It's almost like asking the $60,000 question when it's really about a $2 million question. I'd probably start off with public safety improvements, such as equipment that, whether it's our police or EMS, that items that they really need at this point in time. But otherwise, I would try and then funnel that money to other programs, such as being able to support our seniors with regards to the programs that maybe are lacking or should be really enforced and bulked up, such as getting them transportation and other services that they need. And then I try and look at seeing whatever's left over to see if we can funnel that into Parks and Rec for maintenance.
Thank you. The next question will be answered first by Jeff Guzzi. The question is, within recent changes in the Colonie Town Court, recognizing the absorption of the Manans Village Court impacting funding, what are your ideas and suggestions to improve conditions within our town court system?
Well, first of all, we need to make sure our town courts are properly staffed. We need to make sure our clerks' positions are filled, and we make sure we have competent judges on the bench. I've seen the work that Town of Colonie judges put in when I worked with them side by side for over 20 years with the Colonie police officer. So we need to support the court itself and give them the tools and the people who are willing to work and put in the time and effort.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
When it comes to the town of Colonie and the legal services, we got to make sure that they're able to fulfill their duties of upholding the law to the town of Colonie. And especially with absorbing Manans, we got to make sure that when cases are brought forward to the court, that it doesn't take years for them to get through the system, that they have the funding and the support that they need. So if there are, for example, clerks or positions that need to be filled, we need to find a way to promote these positions as being open and available. And when it comes to the judges, I think right now most of them are part-time positions. If we can look into a possibility of a full-time judge position to help move along cases, that's something I'd be open to discussing about, because at the end of the day, no one's above the law. We need to make sure that when you're in Colonie, we respect the law and we play fair by the law.
Thank you. Ben, Gary.
And again, we're back to staffing. We need to have competent people who can help the judges get the workload through. The best phrase to use is a paralegal. Paralegal has the ability to do a lot of the things that will take the effort or the burden away from the judges so that we can handle more work and the judges don't have to be burdened. So putting in the proper staff is what's going to be important. That's a strategic decision. Someone did come to me recently and said, why don't you just split up, put a wall through one of the courts and create larger areas and break up, the time periods in the courts are in session. Maybe we can move more work more quickly, more efficiently. We could look at that. Right now, they're looking at a lot of options, and I'm sure we will figure this out because we have an obligation to service the people of Manans.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
This is a very good question. It's a question that the board has discussed with our supervisor, and we have come up with the solution that staffing is going to be an issue. And that's why we're even on the last question, we were talking about staffing and making sure that the staff that is going to be taking this increase are compensated. They're already overworked right now with a workload that is very high, and now we're going to add more to it. So we're going to have to make sure that they're going to be doing the work properly and efficiently, and that also means they're going to be spending more time, and they should be compensated for their time. So once again, we are getting back to a similar question, but the same, I believe, that the same results. We have to make sure that they're properly staffed, they have all the resources they need to make the proper decisions when it comes to law enforcement and decisions in the court.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
I feel that in order to make our town court more efficient, that we do need to take a look at staffing holes if they're not already filled, to make sure that they are filled, and if need be, increase staff positions to be able to support the increased caseload that is now going to be taken on by our judges. With the consolidation of the village of Manans, there is going to be a lot more pressure put on the current court system. We also need to really make sure that our judges are competent. And that possibility of moving judges from part-time to full-time is a realistic point that we do need to consider. How much is going to be taken on with the village of Manans, and over time, if crime increases and we're still trying to do our due diligence with our public safety department and supporting them, then we need to do what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Ryan.
I'm going to echo a little bit of the concerns of the residents that I've been speaking to while I've been walking and meeting and greeting with closing the Manans court and moving the entire workload to our court without increasing staff. Of course, I don't have a magic wand, and I don't pretend to currently sit on the board or know what's in the mind of our supervisor in planning for staffing, but personally I would like to see an additional judge or judges and additional staffing. How to pay for that, how to organize that, I don't have an answer. I do know after speaking to Judge Caponera currently, he's been working towards efficiencies and better performance, which I always agree with, work better, not harder, although I do think increasing salaries and increasing staff, especially for our clerks and our administration, would be huge because they're going to need it.
Thank you. The next question will be answered first by Julian Kovacs. The question is, what ideas do you have on making the volunteer fire services more efficient and effective, given how many departments operate within our town's borders?
You know, I had the privilege this last week to go into the Loudonville Shaker Fire Department to see the Explorer program celebrate its 50th year. And I gotta tell you, there's a lot of incredible people that work for the fire departments here in Colonie. And these are people that we need to listen to more. These are people that if we elevate and we actually sit down with them and listen to what they have to say, they'll give us the answers. Because I saw that this past weekend. They are incredible smart people. The Explorer program is dedicated to working alongside Scouting of America to reach out to the youth of this town to ensure that they see a future within the fire department program. And there's full-time, there's people that are there part-time, there's people there that volunteer. And I feel like those are the people I want to sit down in a room with to talk to about this, because I have my full faith in the fire departments here, and I know that they hold the answer to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
My grandfather and my great uncles started the village fire company. Our fire companies are part of our community, and listening to the firefighters and their concerns is very important, and taking in their ideas. At the same time, we have to monitor the mandates that are being put on us by the state. And we have to make sure that they are not excessive, because that's what reduces our ability to staff our fire departments. So we need to protect our fire departments, and we need to have knowledge of what requirements are being burdensome to them, and how can we help them, and how can we get members involved so that we can fight fires when necessary. But our fire departments are part of our community, and we need to stay close to them and have a full knowledge of what's required of them and how to make that easier.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
I concur with that, those two last statements. The fire department is a very, very vital project, and the things that they do, like last week, not only is it part of like our street, it was part of the whole neighborhood. And whenever they had the Explorer program, it brings in kids, and they get to know not only about the safety, and they have classes up there year-round, teaching them about fire safety. It's not always about putting out fires. It's about, eliminating fires so they don't get started. And they have programs that are just wonderful. So I support our fire department. I support all the aspects of it and how we're trying to make it grow and bring awareness. That's like last week, we're bringing awareness to our community on how important our fire department is. And I think they feel appreciated, because I know the town board and our supervisor, we do certain things for them to make sure that they do feel appreciated, and I just want to continue that.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
First, I'll say that the act of volunteering and giving back to the community is a real important value that we need to instill into our kids. All that essentially pays back into what we do in our community. So the Explorer programs, getting high schoolers involved as well, into the youth programs, or whether it's ambulance or fire departments, that will eventually feed into people who like what they do as volunteers, and then continuing to be able to pay back and wanting to continue to pay to be in those organizations, such as the volunteer fire departments. I would really hate to see that with lack of volunteers, that at some point in time, and I would really hate to see this happen. I know it happened where I grew up in South Jersey, that some of the volunteer agencies had to go to paid staff during the day, but volunteers are where it's at.
Thank you. Donna Karan Ryan.
I'm very grateful for our volunteers, because they are volunteers, and I think it's a vital service to our community for life safety and support. I think education is important. I recently attended a couple of functions during Fire Prevention Week at some of our firehouses, and I really got to see and learn firsthand from some of these service providers that they are really invested in what they do. Not because they're being paid or they're sitting on a pedestal, but they really like what they do, the way they educate our kids and our community. And I would support whatever I could to keep them in place and encourage more participation.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
First of all, the dedication shown by the volunteers in our numerous fire departments throughout Colonie is incredible. I think back to when I was young, and I mentioned it in my opening statement. I was born and raised in Cohoes, but my father was part of the second graduating class of paramedics at Blount Firehouse, and we didn't even live in Colonie at the time. So that's how far back the volunteer service goes back to in my family. My brother continued that service. He was a Blount Fire Chief for a number of years. So I wholeheartedly support every fire department, fire person, and the training and the backing from the town board that we can give them.
Thank you. The next question goes first to Ben Gary, and the question is, as a board member, how would you increase transparency, communication, and public participation in town board action, such as town board meetings and the town budgeting process?
Well, this question has come up before, and there's a fundamental problem, all right? We are not Mayberry. We like to act like Mayberry, and in many senses we are Mayberry, and I will work to keep us Mayberry. But we aren't a town of 15,000 people where you walk into the town board and the town board can take care of your broken door or a broken hydrant. We have personnel to do that. We have over 80,000 people in the town of Colonie. There's mechanisms currently in place whereby you can come to town board, say what you'd like to say, we will consider that. But once we identify the situation, then we'll refer you to the people, to the staff, who know what they're doing and can help you with your problem. That's why Supervisor Crummey has all the staff members present at our meetings, because they're there to help you. That's a fundamental difficulty I've seen. We aren't Mayberry, except at heart. We're a big town.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
Well, I'm not speaking hearsay, I'm speaking actual. Because I am on the town board, and I have been for the last 3.5 years, I do think we're transparent. I do think that, you know, there's some things that we all want to do different. But as being one of the members, I can say this, that the members on that board that I've worked with for 3.5 years, we take it very serious. We take it serious from the moment we have our pre-meeting till when we get downstairs. I can tell you that we not only hear your concerns, we try to address them. And sometimes we try to address them right then at the meeting. And I know that myself and some of the members, we have left on a meeting on Thursday and go and meet and call each other up Friday morning and try to handle the problem if it didn't get handled at that night. So we take this job very serious, and all I can say is just give us a chance, because we do want to be problem solvers.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
With regards to increasing transparency and communication, usually when a project's going on or something big is happening within the town, they usually have a town hall meeting in which that meeting is publicized. But to be honest, there's usually not enough time for that information to get out to the residents so that they know that there's a meeting going on. And when the town hall meeting does come up, there's usually not enough residents that are bringing forward the issues with regards to the topic that's being discussed. What does need to happen, and I do see a big change that needs to occur, is that with regards to our current town board meetings, is that the public comment needs to be moved from the end of the meeting to the front of the meeting. And public comment is a great place to capture all the other information that was not being made available at the town hall public meeting, so that this information can be reviewed before a town vote happens, and then it can be discussed with the proper
Thank you.
decision made.
Donna, Kara, Ryan.
I have to say, I think the town does a great job with transparency. From the meetings, which anyone can attend, to the meetings that are actually streamed live for viewing, and then they're archived on the website for future viewing. I also, as I said, sit on the IDA and the LDC, the Industrial Development Agency and Local Development Corp. Our meetings are open for public comment. They're not often attended, but like anything, you have to be there to participate. You can't just demand transparency, but not show up and not be available and not participate. I also want to give a nod to Supervisor Crummy because I've been to so many events in the town of Colonie, especially during this campaign season, and I see him out at everything. I can't imagine his schedule. And he just openly talks to and greets and has conversations with everybody. So we could always do better at everything, but I think for transparency, we do a pretty good job.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
I also don't know how much more transparent the town board can be under Supervisor Crummy. Like Donna said, people can come to the meetings. Our meetings are posted on our Town of Colonie website. The minutes or the agenda for those meetings are posted 48 hours prior, so you can look up what is on the agenda if you want to show up personally. Live streaming is a great way. If you don't want to go in person, you can watch it from the comfort of your own home. Also, there are other ways that you can get updates through the town. We have text alerts that are being sent out. People have to go on the website and find out how to sign up for that. And there are regular email updates. Being on the town board, along with Alvin, we have town email addresses where people can reach out to us directly. My cell phone number, my personal cell phone number, is actually listed for people to call me.
Thank you. The next question will be, oh, I'm sorry. Sure. Certainly. He's exercised his red card option. He gets 1 minute.
I've got to disagree with Mr. Weingarten on one thing. He said the time for people to speak should be at the beginning of a meeting. When you're dealing with a budget of millions of dollars, you have something called an agenda. You have to get through that agenda because you've got to pay bills, you've got to pay employees, and you've got to take problems you already have solutions for. The agenda is where the solutions are. So you've got to take care of the solutions first before you have people come in and take the time to have questions. The agenda is important when you're dealing with millions of dollars because that's where the help for the people starts. Thank you.
Another red card. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. So, aside from the agenda, when it's other issues that are in front of the town, projects, decisions that are being made on subdivisions, or that will impact quality of life, not everybody gets a chance to be able to get to those initial meetings, and before a vote is going to happen, there is other information that gets found and that gets brought forward to the board and even planning board, okay, that I myself have brought issues to the town board with valid data and facts and saying, there's an issue here, here's the information, you need to look at this, and the board at those times has just gone on their previously conceived agenda of what they're going to want to do when valid information saying that there's a problem needs to be addressed. So I think we need to take a look at that.
I made a mistake. The red cards threw me off, and Mr. Kovacs hasn't had an opportunity to address the question. So he gets his minute.
All right, I appreciate that. I can tell this is a very heated conversation, and I think when it comes down to it is that we are just a town with people, and the people want to be seen and heard and responded to. And there's ways about going about that. And I know clearly there's been an issue addressed a lot already, so I won't touch more on that. But there's ways of modern communication where it's great, we have it streamlined, we have it live. Let's put it on YouTube. Let's put it on Facebook. Let's get it on Instagram. Let's make it more accessible for the average voter that has these apps and are able to look at it there. There's a lot of cities and a lot of towns that already use these systems, like you have around around Albany, around Schenectady, like around Colonie or some communication app would be really great for us to broaden our appeal and make sure residents have a wider understanding of what's going on in our town. It's an easy solution, an accessible solution for more people to see us and hear us, and they feel seen and heard as well.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Alvin Gamble first. And the question is, the Colonie Town Board develops policies that affect the business environment in the town. What private business experience do you have, and how would you use it as a Colonie Town Board member to develop optimal business policies?
Thank you. First of all, even though I worked for National Grid for 44 years, I also have my own business. I've had my own business for 25 years. That's a family business that we've developed and we've grown. So with that being said, business is very important to me. The way you know, like a family business, not only is it important to me, but it helps the community. These businesses, which some of them cater to the public, some of them cater to industries, are very important as we grow and we can see these businesses sustain and keep families going. I believe that if we keep on helping the small businesses grow in Colonie, we will attract more small businesses, and that'll keep, not only will it keep the taxes down, but it'll have an enrichment for our community and the people in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
Well, I am not a small business owner, so I won't try to come up with something about that. But what I would definitely do is definitely work with other small business owners to be able to come up with a plan to form these policies. But the small business owner is the backbone of the community. They help feed into the current infrastructure as far as jobs, taxes, and so forth. And that's really important. If we have strong small businesses, then our community is going to thrive. Thank you.
Donna Ryan.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The Colonie Town Board develops policies that affect the business environment in the town. What private business experience do you have, and how would you use it as a Colonie Town Board member to develop optimal business policies?
Well, I've spent years in the industrial commercial construction business. I currently am working for a local senior community development company. Again, I focus on smart business. I think new business is always good as long as it's with the consideration of the local residents and preserving our green spaces. I'd also like to see improvements in our senior services in a new community and giving back to those seniors that have been here for so long.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
Well, I too have very limited experience in private business. However, I did operate a small lawn care and snow plowing business. And as part of doing those jobs, the most important thing that I learned from that is to listen to your customers. And as a town board member, I think the most important thing is to listen to the business community and see what their needs are and to act on those.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
So throughout my life, I've had the privilege to work as a cashier at Stewart's, so I've seen firsthand how Stewart's, a great company and a small business here in the upstate New York region, works to represent our values. And Also, I've had a chance to be a Popeyes fry cooker, but besides that, I've been a New York State Assembly person. Part of my work with grant writing and non-for-profits is that I oversee the budgets every year, and we're about to enter our third session where we work on the budget for the whole state. And so I've seen firsthand money getting allocated to businesses and how to support our state at large, and I can macro that down to the town as a whole. I think the biggest thing is that small businesses are the backbone. We have to support them, and I want to be a positive voice for them on the town board as well.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
Being a small business owner in Colonie and having listened to the business owners, the biggest gripe a business owner has is a government that isn't responsive. And again, not to bring up the staffing issue, but when they go to the building department or some other department within the town, they need to have a response. And they need to have a polite response, an effective response. And that includes when they come before us with regard to planning and expansion. We are all part of the community. We should treat each other with respect. And that's why having necessary people to answer questions and move things in a quick and efficient manner are important. Town government can't be Big Brother and can't be arrogant when it comes to dealing with our businesses, because they are an important part of the community. That being said, we still have to look at that word precision. When we're talking about development and expansion, we always have to keep precision in mind with regard to expansion.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Joel Weingarten first. The question is, how will you confront the probable decline in retail and mall tax revenue on the town of Colonie? What other sources of revenue should the town consider to diversify away from retail? Yes. What other sources of revenue should the town consider to diversify away from retail?
In regards to the decline of the mall and tax revenue, first I think that we need to make sure that our infrastructure is pretty good as far as public transportation to be able to bring people in, to be able to get to the malls. We also need to make sure our public safety is also properly staffed so that they can deal with theft in malls and so forth. But really bringing in, for other sources of revenue, really bringing in small businesses to take the place where we're going to lack in big business. As I said before, small business is the backbone for the community. That's going to feed into jobs, that's going to feed into taxes, that's going to feed into people being able to live in the area, pay rent, purchase food at our grocery stores and everything else. It's going to feed back into itself. So I really do think that getting back into small business will help support that and other sources of tax revenue.
Thank you. Donna Karat Ryan.
Thank you. I think allowing and focusing on new development and redevelopment is always a good thing. With the building of the ACO building in Latham has brought in a lot new business and a lot of people to the area, which I think is also helping to alleviate that loss. I've also recently been made aware of Supervisor Crumey's initiative for tax-exempt developments to also pay a portion to support the municipal supports in our community, and I think that's a fabulous idea. So I do think there are many alternative areas that we can also support the tax loss of the retail developments.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
So if we're looking at malls, so to speak, becoming vacant and losing that tax base, I think we need to try to repurpose those buildings to put them back on the tax rolls, to bring in maybe a different type of business, something that is wanted in the town of Colonie. I think our police department has done an excellent job combating retail theft, and I think that makes Colonie a very attractive area to do business in. And also, like Donna said, Supervisor Crumey is now looking to implement some sort of payment for, not in lieu of taxes, but in order to offset some of the other costs associated with the public safety and the maintenance of our infrastructure.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
I was just at Colonie Center a couple days ago, and it is clear to see that there is a sense of needing to reinvest into Colonie Center. And I just want to take a second to think about all my friends who went to Colonie High School, and they would talk about how they'd take the late bus home just so they could walk to Colonie Center and have a good time there. And I feel that's a very important memory for a lot of people, and a tradition that needs to keep on going. And it is a beautiful space. I know from firsthand experience, I myself have taken part in events with organizations there, and we have to be creative and we have to be reinventive when it comes to those spaces. And when it comes to the small businesses, we're seeing an expansion in them. I've been knocking on doors, and I met a woman who was fixing up old furniture that you would just normally throw away, and there she was in her shed just reworking it, and she was posting it on the Facebook marketplace. So at the same time, we have to address that the economy is changing, and that these local people need to be supported and their skills need to be shown, and that could be a way to invest back into the economy. It's getting back from brick and mortar now to at your house. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
Yeah, it's true that maybe the theft situation is impacting retail, but retail is changing. And it's a terrible thing to have to think of and say, because some people don't believe government should be involved in, the business of business. But you have to plan. In order to plan, you have to know what properties are available. You have to have development. You've got to have somebody who's in charge of development and monitoring what vacancies we have, where's business going, where's business expanding, and how can we bring those businesses that are expanding into Wolf Road. I've had some comments about, hey, Wolf Road's not looking like it used to, and it isn't. So we have to find out, what do we do about the old turf inn? Why did Best Western sell to some independent folks? What are we not looking at with regard to our development? Is it an added burden? It is, but we've got to know the playing cards, and it includes business.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
Well, being on the town board, it has been brought to our attention by our chief of police on how they are trying to combat the thievery and the robberies and all the loss of money by theft. And what they have been trying to do is working not only with the people in the businesses in Colonie, they're doing things that we talk about, working outside the lines, working with the police and the municipalities in other areas like Schenectady or Saratoga and other different areas, and having those heads and police chiefs and heads of department stores working together. So if someone is having a ring out in the Schenectady area or out in Saratoga, they can communicate with one another and tell them what they've seen, cross the lines of, Mohawk Mall, where that might be the Schenectady police, or down in the town of Albany, where that might be the Albany police. It's going to take some time, but that's what they're doing right now, is working together as police force to help fight the crime situation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be our last question before closing statements, and it goes first to Donna Karat-Ryan. And the question is, considering the recent loss of the College of St. Rose in the city of Albany, what is Colonie planning to do to support and sustain Siena University?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd like to look into it and see what we could do to support the new Siena University. I think support them in whatever messaging they can get out in promotion of their school. Support any funding we could offer to support them staying viable and productive. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give that a little more thought.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
Well, I guess one thing I can do is keep paying my daughter's tuition. I got another year and a half of that before she graduates, so I'm doing my part. That's all chip in, folks.
Julian Kovacs.
You know, I'm, like most people, happy that Siena became a university over, I think it was about a month ago, and this is something we need to support and encourage. And at my time at Harvard College in Oneonta, we really saw the town and the city and the schools coming together where they were inviting students into local government, because there is people out there who are studying at Siena University that want to be in government and want to have a hands-on knowledge. And when these kids come back, they are benefiting our economy by working in our businesses and shopping in our businesses. So definitely being a younger person, I see the value of having a great university within our borders. And you betcha, within the first 100 days, I'm going there, and I'm showing them that young people have opportunities here in Colonie, can stay here in Colonie, and that this is the place for them, and we want to encourage them to make sure that they have the best education and the best experience possible.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
You know, there's a saying, you take advantage of the ones you love the most. And we love Siena here in Colonie. I'm a Siena graduate. And we do have to think about, with the terrible disaster that has occurred in St. Rose, and yes, they've gone to being a university, but the reason they've gone to being a university is they can bring the money in for the higher degrees and not have to put out the money that they do for regular students. So it's an income thing for them, and that should be a warning. I think dialogue is important. With that kind of facility, so important to this town, there should be a dialogue between Siena and someone within government. I would propose that we have a liaison to all of the educational facilities, the school districts, all of them that exist within Colonie. So our youth are so important. They represent our future. The town needs to have a liaison to education, not just colleges, all education.
Thank you. Alvin Gamble.
That question one more time, please.
Certainly. Considering the recent loss of the College of St. Rose in the city of Albany, what is Colonie planning to do to support and sustain Siena University?
I also agree with that. The answer of, you know what, we should get like a cooperation. So if we can see something that happened to another college or whatever, we should at least have a group of college heads. You know, we have Siena, we have Albany State, we have other colleges right here in the Capital District, and have some kind of cooperation between them and someone, you know, our supervisor or the city of Albany mayor, different people to get together so this doesn't happen again. Because that, for a school to be around over 100 years and then just go red, go deadline, is a very, you know, it affected a lot of people. And we just don't need that to happen again. And the only way we can stop something to happen again is look at it, dissect it, and have measures so it won't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
Jeff, I'm glad you're doing your part to directly support Siena. The only thing I can think of that the town of Colonie can do to help support Siena is to try to reach out to, if it's not done already, make sure that we've got internship programs into our local government to try and bring some of those students in to learn how local government works, and then if possible turn that into a feeder program to actually bring them in to stay locally. I mean, I know we have a lot of students that come locally and go to Siena, but Siena still pulls in students from outside the area, and we would want to be able to continue to attract and keep those students locally as well. And I would probably think that, I know Siena also boasts on the signs out on I-90 that we've got great job fairs, we've got great placement and so forth, but I would just sort of, you know, if we're not doing it already, have job fairs to bring kids in locally throughout the town.
Thank you. We will now have closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their closing statement, and they will be done in the opposite order from their opening statements. But first, I want to thank you all, both candidates and the audience, for demonstrating your civic interest by attending this event, and for the courtesy and respect that you have shown throughout the evening. Don't forget to vote on Tuesday, November 4th, and don't forget to turn your ballot over to vote on Proposition 1. Some people forget that there's a proposition on the back. It's a proposed New York State constitutional amendment concerning land in the forest preserve in the Adirondacks. Now for closing statements, and we'll hear first from Alvin Gamble.
Well, I said thank you in the beginning of the organizations and the groups that made this possible, and also for our audience right here. So once again, thank you. As for my closing statement, I would just like to say this. As the ending of my first term as a Colonie Town Board member, I'd just like to say thank you, first of all, for letting me serve you for these 3.5 years, from my fellow board members who are here, from my supervisor, and all the people here. I just want to say thank you. And then after that, I just want you to know, I didn't like this job at all. You know why? I love it! I love every aspect of this job. I come here, I've worked my life, 44 years to be a public servant. And you know what? I wake up in the morning, sometimes 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just to make sure that I can maybe turn someone's lights on, maybe I can help someone out. And you know what? There's not a lot of people who can do that. And there's something I want to also say to my other 5 people who are up here. I want to thank you guys. You know what? It takes a real strong person to be a public servant. Everyone talks about it in the couch and in their bedrooms and in the front of the TV, but there's only a few who go out and do it. So I want to thank you guys, you 5, and everyone here for doing what we're doing. And I love this job, and I hope I come back here for another term.
Thank you. Ben Gary.
Well, first I'd like to thank the people, even though they're not, well, they may be here, but the people who submitted the questions. Somebody took enough interest and time to think and send questions in. And Mary, I want to thank you, because I know you monitored those questions and consolidated them. So thank you so much for that. My family's lived in Colonie for over 115 years. I have a vested interest in this community. And as I said before, I recently retired, but I'm staying put. I'm not going. Being retired, I have the time to put in during the day. Even though I'll be running my business and helping my brother run our business, I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I can take time if a department head says, hey, we've got this program we want you to watch with us on this new product. I can do it. The other thing is I can hit the ground running between the school board work, work with my business, and the $33 million budget that we have at the Boston Pediatric Burn Hospital. I deal with all these issues constantly. Thank you.
Thank you. Julian Kovacs.
I would just like to say thank you for everyone for letting us have this conversation tonight. And I think we all see that Colonie is a very special place, and I believe Colonie's best days are still ahead of it. Because it's only in Colonie that I feel I'm privileged enough to be up here on the stage and representing this case for all of us to come together. And I want to say what this campaign has been about for me. It's always been about service. It's what I learned being an Eagle Scout. What I learned being a good neighbor is that you show up, you care for your community, and you're there every single day for them. And that's something I want to bring to the town board, because I put my heart into this campaign, and just the ability to see every resident at their home, no matter what, has changed my life, because I've met so many people and listened to so many stories where my life is forever changed. And I promise, with your trust and your faith, I'll do everything in my power to represent you and hear you on that board and make sure we all walk out knowing that our future is safe and that everyone here has a great future to look forward to. Thank you so much. I love this town. Vote Julian on row A and D, November 4th.
Thank you. Jeff Guzzi.
Well, like I said in my opening statement, my wife and I chose Colonie to move to raise our family, and so that I could become a Colonie police officer, where I dedicated over 20 years keeping the residents of Colonie safe. I'm proud of my time that I spent in law enforcement. I started in Cohoes before Colonie, so I had over 27 years when I retired. 20 of those years I spent working with Judge Peter Crummey. I used to refer to him as my judge. He was one of the best judges that town of Colonie had ever seen. And now it is my honor and my privilege to work alongside Supervisor Peter Crummey in moving Colonie forward and making it a safe and affordable place for all residents.
Thank you. Donna Karat, Ryan.
Thank you again to the sponsors and also Shaker for hosting tonight's forum, and also thank you, Mary, for doing a great job at monitoring. I know many candidates in the past at other forums and in other campaigns have highlighted significant issues and problems that they want to fix. Well, there's always something to improve upon. However, under Supervisor Crummey's leadership, I'm very happy still living here in the town of Colonie, and now having a young daughter and parents who are seniors still living in the town of Colonie. I want Colonie to continue being beautiful and a safe and affordable community for my daughter and my parents and all residents. And I believe I have an advantage of having worked in many different industries and sectors and can bring all that experience and knowledge to the board to best serve the town of Colonie and continue to support our public safety and our first responders and encourage smart growth and development while also being environmentally responsible.
Thank you. Joel Weingarten.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight to participate in the debate. I am running for Colonie Town Board because I believe in making decisions that will create a lasting positive impact for future generations. I am committed to improving our town's infrastructure and ensuring its long-term sustainability. With my background in data-driven decision-making and community leadership, I feel that I am uniquely equipped to bring transparency, responsibility, and thoughtful analysis to the town board. My guiding principle of improving your life means that I will approach every decision with the highest level of accountability and care. I believe in serving with integrity and working collaboratively to ensure that Colonie remains a place where families can thrive for years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we can all applaud.